Welcome back to the Forge of Champions, where unthinkable scenes are evolving. It is 1-1 in this first quarterfinal between Enclave and Barrage. You didn't mishear me. And Barrage has looked strong throughout this series.
Barrage should have won the series by now. Based on that first game, honestly, they should have.
It's kind of Enclave just watching everything on fire. This is fine. We can make play-ins still. This is fine.
The fact they're banking at play-ins in quarterfinals should be a massive worry for Enclave.
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about the fact that Rift is such a strong component of Enclave. I would say potentially one of the things that makes them so successful is the fact that he generally always wins top lane and in team fights, and in the way Enclave kind of make their big, flashy, random, tool-in plays.
Yeah, I mean,
they have that ability, mechanical prowess from Rift to secure stuff.
Even at the most basic, though, the shot calling just seems to be dead.
Yeah, if Rift is genuinely the lead shot caller for the team,
yeah,
that's a real issue. We don't know whether or not Rift will be joining us on the Rift.
You realized as you got into that.
So the thing that I want to talk about here is Prelude in the top lane, because it's not necessarily to do with him playing necessarily that poorly, but it's a matchup now where Governor is actually able to put pressure on him. When he played the Camille into the Fiora of Prelude, he put enough pressure on him to the point where Monk has had to come top on several occasions to try and slow him down, to try and slow down the Fiora, because, to try and slow down the Camille rather, because the Camille was gaining that much of an advantage. And if you think, how is Rift even performing in the top lane by comparison? He's not needed that much attention in terms of top lane just to make it even. He's needed top lane attention to try and slow him down, because he's the one getting a mess.
I would actually argue a separate point here. I would think that Monk went up there and got a few effectively free kills for him. Yep. That's fine. Whether the Camille was gaining ground or not, that's whatever. The big thing for me, though, is that they just weren't able to convert that into anything. They had this massively ahead Aatrox, threw him into a fight, he got zoned out, and the most important thing is that clearly the Barrage communication is better, especially with top lane, because Governor is able to force these massive engages.
And that, dive kill that ended up being a turret return as well just keeps Governor in the game.
Exactly.
Just a couple of mechanical errors that potentially, if the skill shots were hit, if the lane wasn't the way it was, then that could be a kill.
Just think about the difference in that one scenario. The wave gets cleared, you collapse a full wave onto the enemy tower. He doesn't get the kill gold. He doesn't the death doesn't come through onto Prelude and C. He gets to go back to top lane, much more comfortable, and with a wave bouncing back towards him. Instead, he's left in an awful situation where Governor actually gets to take back control of the lane.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, my opinion is that's almost too zoomed in a view of this game. I think they should never be in a position where the game they won the early game of ended in 27 minutes against them. This shouldn't happen. They were winning for at least 10 to 15 minutes.
But they were winning,
and then in less than half that time, or in about half that time even, the whole game flipped on its head.
Yeah, it's not the issue of mechanical prowess, but more shot calling and the way that they're playing the game, that Rift ensures.
Was the fact that they garnered early game advantages, and they managed to get some decent advantages off the back of the jungle effectiveness of Monkeys. But then it wasn't just that they couldn't capitalize on it, it's those advantages weren't gathering enough. They didn't actually push the advantages at the right time. They didn't get an advantage directly into a tower. They didn't, they weren't able to, because they end up trading 1-for-1 on the gank. Or those sort of plays slowed them down dramatically, where otherwise they'd have been much more likely to have been able to snow those advantages.
Something you brought up pre-series that I think holds true here is one of the big weaknesses we saw of Enclave was that they weren't getting very early to mid-game vision. And because they didn't, you actually saw them punished multiple times. I think Hado was caught out as well towards the Baron.
One of the big turning points.
Things like that are now causing them issues. Barrage have found a lot of weaknesses and have exposed them really heavily.
Yeah, really, truly. Picks and bans on the way here, and it doesn't feel like Barrage are required to shift anything that they've been doing. It's all on the back of Enclave to kind of respond to both these two games that, as you mentioned, realistically, probably should have been Barrage wins.
Aggressive early bot lane and jungler, team fighting mid lane and top laner. That's been the style.
I really dislike the champion choices from Aaron. Like Akali, you have to lock in, sure, but the Aatrox, it's like it wins lane, and then as these team fights break out, kind of has one good round of abilities, then
they shouldn't have been relying on him. I would not come close to questioning the Aatrox. I'd question that Tristana super heavily. Tristana
Rift's back. Rift's back.
So he is back in the top lane. Here we go.
ENCLAVE has said we can't afford to lose here against the 8th seed Barrage.
Yeah.
And they've brought back Rift, so you would assume this is a pretty motivating move to win this this game in series.
Well, I mean, Prelude comes out with a 50% win rate regardless of how shaky the team looked with him. But Rifty needs to come back into the top lane and make things happen. He needs to be pushing Governor behind and then helping make plays across the map. Yes, he needs to have a lot of pressure on him because this is the back against the wall.
Yeah, this is a lot of pressure. Like Rift's an emotional player.
Yeah.
Always performed very well, but at this point, essentially your team has said everything's on you, mate.
Yeah. But he needs that kind of pressure put on him right now. He needs to be the guy who makes plays. He needs to be the guy making something happen because nothing has been happening for ENCLAVE. We talked about it, so little proactivity throughout both games.
And from my point of view, this is a massive win for Barrage morally. I think they've forced them onto the back foot here. They have to swap out the person they wanted to keep in for this series.
Yeah, and that's a huge moral victory. Barrage have basically put ENCLAVE's backs against the wall and forced their hand. It's going to be Varus locked in once more for Bendy. The Lucian Talia coming through for Barrage.
Pretty much back to game one right now. We see, directly back to game one where we see the Varus Gragas and the Talia Lucian. This is pretty standard, but we see the Braum is still available for Barrage. They can still go for Lucian Braum again. They can get that aggressive bot lane. They've got the aggressive jungle matchup as well.
It can be denied here though as well.
Like Alistair looks like...
The Alistair as well for more aggression.
Yeah, I like the Alistair more because it fits what ENCLAVE have been trying to do, which is just slow down the pace of the game in those fights. They want to be landing a lot of CC knockups and get some slowing potential to buy their own tempo.
We've also seen Haddo leaned more towards this Alistair as well because we've seen Haddo has been punished by other teams because he does go very far forward. Alistair's super hard to punish because of his ultimate.
Yeah, absolutely. And
the Mythy champ, if you will.
Yeah. I want to see where the prioritization comes from Barrage here with this pick. Poppy locked in, so Governor right immediately essentially saying, I will secure my top lane.
As we can ban out some of the obvious counters, such as the Darius. Please ban the Darius. Don't do that to me.
Not against
it's Rift.
Don't do that.
You don't even consider it at this point. It's not a consideration, it's a necessity.
Very strange, though. You have red side. One of the biggest benefits of red side is you get the top lane counter.
They want to counter the mid lane. So far, Seb has been the weak link early. The Orianna pick was punished by the Akali. The Cassiopeia pick didn't have the impact it wanted against the Aatrox. Now they're saying to themselves, right, well, we'll just kind of pick whatever happens in the mid lane, try and get Seb rolling mentally as far as the early game is concerned so that we can have him in those mid-game fights really being the input we need to continue this dominance we've had mid-early.
Okay, the Azir, the final bans. Maybe that speaks to what they want to pick them for themselves in the mid lanes. Trying to ban out a counter pick potentially. So what are we looking to see here?
I was actually I would kind of like to see the Morgana bot lane to stop some of the Alistair engage maybe.
I can see that.
And then you get a lot more lane priority potentially with the push. But
suddenly it's Poppy support. And we're all
I mean I'd kind of like to see that. That would be a pretty funny one to bring out.
To be honest, it's still there's light potential for Poppy jungle Talia mid. Light potential because Poppy jungle has been something that's been rising a lot up on solo queue.
It's just throwing all the possibilities out. Like,
it's
at this point,
this also removes the counter pick unless this is Poppy support.
Okay, yeah, that's true. It's like we threw out all the possibilities.
Unless this is Poppy support. Poppy in every lane.
It's Lucian top Poppy the only reason I like the idea of Poppy support is because it's up against Alistair and it denies his engage pretty heavily.
So you run rapid fire cannon, Poppy AD carry, and then you bop someone with the buckler.
But on a more serious note, I genuinely don't think Poppy support's that bad into Alistair. I genuinely think it's quite good
either. That's why I suggested it. It's just the shutdown to the headbutt pulverize combo keeps the Lucian that much more safe. It's not that bad for aggression. Yeah, it's not that bad for early aggression either in terms of the ability to slam Varus into a wall if he's out of position.
Nah, potentially going to be the lock-in. We've got Orianna against this Ryze. Rift will be playing in the top side. So now, is this the ultimate mind game coming through from Barrage?
We're just playing 4D chess with us.
Are we just completely overhyping the way this works out?
Come on, guys, don't let me down.
I'm excited, regardless.
But, I mean, so worst case scenario will still probably lean towards the support pick that could be interesting, could change the dynamic of the lane.
So the Ryze versus the
it's our top!
the Ryze versus the Orianna mid lane ends up just being a fairly slow scaling matchup. None of them really want to make anything happen until there's later game team fights, and 4D chess is over, unfortunately, guys.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We'll get there again, I'm sure. But Taric is still interesting. Taric is a pick we don't see particularly often. And
really works well with the Lucian, though, with the ability to land that dazzle with a Lucian dash. You can effectively get the stun that much more easily. So you've seen Taric paired with champions that can do that effectively, like the Tristana when she jumps in, the Twitch from invisibility, where you can just land the dazzle a little bit more unexpectedly.
It helps with the Varus ultimate, especially once you if you can time it. Obviously, timing's ridiculous, but if you are able to charge forward and
my big focus with something like that is it's really good for Barrage if they start to pull ahead. The way they've been able to quickly accelerate their aggression, if they can do that again with Taric, it's free tower dives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, especially when you've got a Rise in there to help
escort everyone in.
Help escort everyone in or out, for that matter, at the end of the play. So it's definitely a great setup, and I like what they've got. They've got a key front line of Taric and Poppy. So they've got these 3 big damage dealers, which are so heavily utilized by the Taric when they're able to just free DPS because they're invulnerable. These are all DPS champions. As Rise, he's got a combo, but it's still combo after combo. It's still trying to land as much in a small space.
But the map control with Taliyah Rise is also definitely worth noting. That's really interesting, seeing how Barrage can maybe use that towards the enemy jungle. But
he's running TP, so he can exist in the side lane as well.
I'd also like to refocus this slightly, because we talked a lot about the biggest change for Enclave is, of course, Rift coming back.
Yep.
He's gotten himself quite an easy split pushing matchup.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can just go full split push build and allow his team to do their thing. Unfortunately, his team's thing has been to lose games previously. So hopefully now they come back into the series and he can help them kind of refocus, get better shot calling sorted.
Yeah.
This is a pretty standard, though, 4-man unit if you're looking for a 1-4 composition, because you've got 2 big frontliners who are still playmakers in the Gragas and the Alistar. You've got the team fighting mid laner, and you've got an 80 carry with at least some utility who can team fight, and that's the Varus. So there's definitely the setup for Rift to exist in a side lane and be pressuring out Governor. He just needs the time to be able to get to those items. And he needs to have time bought for him to be in the side lane without being forced to join a team fight.
In game 1, one of Enclave's obviously major turning points was the fact that Bendy was allowed to get to late game and do what Varus does in the late game. How do Barrage hold him down?
It's for me, it's all about using the map control I was previously talking about to push forward. You get aggressive vision into the enemy jungle when you get lane priority. Can you get lane priority? That's the real question, because I'm looking now, you have Rift who should win top lane, you have Aaron who has been winning the mid lane.
Yep.
So now you've suddenly likely lost 2 lanes as opposed to the 1. That might push Barrage back that little bit further. For me, then the shining light has to be, can Zorky pull something off in the early game? Can he be the one that's helping his team even out these lanes?
I mean, Zorky has, especially on the Taliyah.
Definitely stepped up.
So strong. On the Graves, slightly less so. But
he said that he needed to step into the shoes of Reflect. Reflect had a good performance not all too long ago for the team.
Which is a strange
Shadow Assassin statement.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
Yeah, he's stepped into the shoes and more so. So we said we needed to see at least a good early game jungle performance, and we've seen more than we expected from Zorky, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Zorky's looked on fire. When Barrage are shining, Zorky's usually the one who's lit the fire.
Yeah.
At this point, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to change your predictions. It was a 2-0 to Enclave. You both predicted. You're both wrong.
I'll probably change that, yeah. I don't think that's likely anymore.
The question is, are you now favoring Barrage?
After one win has occurred for Barrage, yes, it does seem more likely that it's not 2-0.
Essentially, what I'm asking is who's going to win
enough?
this? Enclave or Barrage?
Yeah, is Rift going to be enough? Exactly.
Yeah, that's the question you're asking us. Is Rift going to be enough? I think based on Enclave's previous performance, you have to at least side with them here.
I think
Barrage, I love the idea. You know what? If you want to predict Enclave, that's fine. I mean, the smart option is Enclave, but I'm sticking with Barrage. I believe in him.
So you're flip-flopping.
All right.
Yeah, heavily.
We're going for the superior analyst debate here. So
yeah,
I'm gonna stick with Enclave. He's gonna flip-flop to Barrage.
Yeah, 100%. Because you know it's not likely, but if it happens, I would find it hilarious.
A gentleman's agreement.
Yeah. Sure. You know what? I like the idea of the underdog story. I'm glad that they showed up here regardless. I think if they can have games anyway similar to the previous 2, it should be them winning out. But I don't see Rift allowing them that freedom, first of all in the top lane, but secondly, hopefully, from Enclave's point of view, the shot calling should have improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I want to see Barrage win all the same. I want to see Barrage get the upset, even with Rift in the team, to show that they have stepped up that much. And even when you resort to the same roster that you won with before, it's not enough, and we are actually the underdogs who have stepped up, and we are gonna beat you out in this one for disrespecting us by throwing your sub in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. At this point, I want to hear from you guys. You have to go onto Twitter. You have to use the hashtag ForgeKnockout if you want to get involved in the discussion. I'm sure after this series, results will have some tweets to showcase regardless, but we didn't expect this to happen. What?
Flame tweets.
Flame tweets.
The best.
Oh, okay. I thought you said lame. I was like, wow, cheers, man. Here we go. On to the Rift.
You're not wrong.
Game 3 of this series. Barrage versus ENCLAVE, first versus 8th in the quarterfinals. All it comes down to is one more game.
I mean,
fool
me once, shame on you.
We came in.
Fool me twice.
We came in going.
Shame on you.
Hey,
I've watched Museum, not in the museum.
We came in thinking, yeah, we're gonna have an early dinner, quick 2-0, should be fairly easy. Barrage going home. But they have shown us that we were so wrong about them, and they are able to step up in these earlier games. And they have come in with a plan. They come in with an early bot lane aggressive style. They have their jungler with the early aggression to help assist them and to give them the ability to pressure that bot side. Jakamaka having played Lucian in all 3 games. And they've been utilizing that pressure so effectively.
Yeah, and I think the big worry for me, if I'm looking at ENCLAVE, is why have Bendy and Hado been so struggling against this 8th seed bot lane?
I mean, it's not the D5 bot lane anymore. They have actually got the full...
Oh, that was Hyperion.
Yeah.
This is below Hyperion.
Exactly. This is the team that has been that consistent, as you said, underline from the start. Have been that 8th seed, and it's not like we're seeing them beat out, as you say, like as I was saying, like the D5 bot lane. This isn't just somebody that they're taking down who looks like they're at the bottom of the draft. This is actually the 1st seed bot lane. This is the bot lane that's been so consistent all season long.
Rift's on. It is going to be this Gnar looking to try and pressure out Governor, who's had much more of a free time in the top side than potentially anticipated going into this matchup. Something that potentially will influence the way Zorki moves around the map as well.
You see, both teams just feeling each other out. They were taking a much slower first few minutes than we have seen in the past, but already you can see Rift eking out that small advantage, trying to collapse the wave onto the tower. And it's definitely the advantage you have as Gnar, just to keep the pressure up on these tanks and have that percentage health damage, have all the range advantage to just so freely CS and force them to be punished in every single one they want to take.
Monkus is in the bot lane. Zorki's taking oh, there's the engage coming through. Jakamaka in so much trouble. Tries to flash away, but he can't. First blood will come through for the Varus. It looks like Bart will be able to escape here. It is a strong start for ENCLAVE, and in their losing lane. And again, Monk is in the early game. This is what he did on the Sejuani. This is what we expected to see from the Gragas in game 1. Have the early pressure. And it's what he's done in the past. The first few levels have been great for him, where he keeps up the pressure of the opposing juggler. But this is the first time we've really seen him performing this early in a series. This is a level 3 gank on the bot lane that worked out to great effectiveness and now has given Bendy an advantage. For the first time in the series, you have to say.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I think that's the lane you really want to focus on, especially when we touched on the fact that the other 2 lanes should probably be winning, because we've seen Eren get solo kills. Rift has been pretty much the shining light for the team, but here we go. That was a very predicted segment shove, assuming that Eren would flash into it. Yeah,
Bit much.
Yeah, I would have thought you can wait for the Rise to at least get in snare range, but it's alright. Happens.
It does happen indeed, but Zorki just going to back away. He's at least put some pressure on Eren for now, but Eren already back in lane. He's already got the mana for himself. He's already looking comfortable. He's pushed back Seb already. We've seen Eren consistently beating out Seb in lane, and the fact that Zorki has to hover around him for so long.
Bardiono's here too, though.
Huge engage. Bard's here, but it doesn't even matter. Flashing, that's a kill going forward. That's going to be a second coming through. Bart's trying to find Monkus. He will be able to. Maybe even double onto Hado. It's the Taric double kill. Red buff ticking away. Hado, can he escape? Gets the shield.
When's the stun? When's the stun?
3.
Oh, okay.
The dissonance to help him escape. Barely escapes, but that was a 5-minute tower dive on the mid lane tier 1 with the support and jungle both roaming there to make that happen. That's
And from Barrage's side, the only person with the kill is Taric.
So we talked about this though. we needed to see some more early aggression from the side of Enclave. We needed to see these plays happen from the early game, and this is exactly what we wanted to see. A lot of aggression, and even though they're going so much further than really we're used to seeing from them, it's definitely refreshing to see them willing to at least try, even if they're risking a lot.
There it is, the knockback. What a crazy start to this game here, but one potentially expected. Looks like potentially Monkus may take a lot of damage, but he won't lose his life, just not yet. Enclave, with Rift in the top side, have essentially said, well, we don't have to have Monkus ever up there. And so Monkus can go bot lane,
exactly, yeah.
Monkus can go mid lane, and Enclave can start, you know, fixing the yacht.
Again, no offense to Pro, you didn't see. He did pretty average for a top laner. He did fine. But it's not the same pressure you get from having Rifty in that top side, where you can just leave him on his own knowing he's going to get advantages, and he's in a matchup where he's allowed to do that even more so.
Yeah, absolutely. This point, really difficult to see the light of your barrage. Everything that you've been doing that's been working well has kind of been turned upside down. Rift finding the ultimate onto Governor here. Just going to continue doing the damage.
Just good trade for him. Burns that ult. Not really having any other use for it other than really tower diving. And as we said, they're not really putting much emphasis into keeping Rift safe, as Governor just has to ult him away to stop the poke and stop him being chunked low under that tower. This is so desperate for him.
While Monkus, because of the aggression that Rift has been able to show, very happy to just roam into the red side jungle. Ooh, looks like it was secured by Zorki with the smite. Just able to secure that in the end. So keeps the experience from his jungle, but you're just seeing
on those raptors.
You're just seeing an entirely different.
As it was actually
it was
secured by
secured.
Monkus.
Wow,
yeah.
there you go. So right now you're just seeing an entirely different Monkus due to the fact that Rift's back on the team.
Is it the Marta effect where he's just micromanaging everybody on the map at once?
I mean,
so they all play so much better when he's around. Or is it just the confidence you get from having that key member, that key figure back in your team, where maybe it takes the shot calling pressure off of Monkus?
Jumping up under the turret, able to survive that attempt from Rift and Monkus. But right now it's just gold falling into the pockets of Enclave. Already at 1,500. You can see the CS differences starting to develop in jungle, in mid especially, and in that top side.
It's definitely a hell of a lot better, and this is the Enclave we expected to see in Game 1 again. We said it at the start of the last game, though. This is the Enclave we wanted to see, and everything fell apart for them. And again, with the mid-game to late-game decision-making. This is actually the Predator Gragas I want to touch on. So this is the run into lane with high movement speed. You can pretty much just walk into melee range before you need to even use that body slam because you're moving so much faster than anybody else.
And I want to see where Enclave throw Monkus if they continue to try and push this Jackamacolution backwards even further. There's an Ocean Drake. We've seen 3 for the start of this series. We haven't seen an Infernal yet, sad face.
Infernal is only for interesting matchups.
I mean, this has been about as interesting as any Forge of Champion matchup.
Yeah, of course it actually has in terms of in practice, but in theory, we looked at this at the start and thought this is an easy 2-0. But look at the
Barrage, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so easy 2-0 for Barrage. That was clearly the prediction, but it's the idea that we didn't expect this to be a series to watch. We expected this to be a series where we'd be praising Barrage for any little thing they did to be able to get themselves any advantage, and looking for Enclave to give the cleanest performance possible to put themselves in a position to be able to do some decent damage and make a statement for the rest of the tournament. But it's not been that way at all.
Flashes out, is able to escape the gank coming through from Zorki, who's had to put his pressure up towards top side to stop Governor from losing out in this matchup so heavily. But because that pressure game is in the top side, it is, of course, going to be Enclave in the bot side. Jackamacka just about survives. Ultimate's missing due to the miscommunication on the abilities, but it doesn't matter. Seb will come through to try and step them. Oh, they get bendy. Seb's not able to land the root. Haddo with his ultimate, of course, so much more tanky. There's actually a lot of work done here by the side of Barrage.
Aaron's just free to push mid, and he's got a decent CS advantage for him already. Seb got nothing for that.
Who's going to get first turret blood is the question. Can Barrage push it down quick enough? Monkus has cut off Seb here. It's going to be pretty close. It does look like it may go Barrage's way.
Meganar should help if he can get back in,
but
no, the bop away.
Lovely stuff. That's first turret bug going the way of Barrage. Seb under the turret trying to escape this gank from Monkers.
Uses that phase rush to get the movement speed boost away. Can't get chased down by Monkers on the backside of that and does escape.
This mid lane turret, not long for this world. You can't damage it, mate, within a barrel. That's just troll.
Barely goes down, so close to staying up for Barrage, and what that would have meant is they get the better reset off and they can just hold on to that. They don't need to really put up a full defense for it, but they can just use the fact that they know members are going to try and push that mid wave and get the wave onto the tower to then make a play elsewhere on the map. And the fact that that's been denied now, just on that minuscule amount of health, has now put ENCLAVE in a better position where they can reset and try to start get tempo on the map. You can see the lane swap, but Jakamaka and Barcelona, they're just free to hit this tower.
Yeah, they might actually take this down before Rift is even able to clear the wave. They're certainly looking to do so, using that passive as quickly as possible. It's a pretty big wave as well. Looks like that turret will fall down. Lovely stuff coming through from Barrage, able to strike true once more before Rift was able to get to the bot side. But, of course, ENCLAVE will take advantages where they can. It is going to be this Rift Herald started up for the team. One that they have to be slightly careful of due to the fact that the control ward is there. Talia's over the wall. We've seen Zorky steal things. Really difficult to steal.
So
Herald.
3 games in a row, we've seen ENCLAVE fall behind on a tower trade and then have to take Rift Herald off the backside of it, just to try and keep up. This is the 3rd game in a row where that's happened, whether it's Rifty or Prelude, it doesn't matter. This is a continued issue for ENCLAVE, where they're falling so far behind on these tempo plays.
Potentially, yeah. We'll have to see how they're able to use the Rift Herald to potentially get that tempo back in their advantage. Barrage will secure this Ocean Drake, but it looks like that top lane turret's pretty much uncontested. And of course, with the Rift Herald, maybe even get it to push into the inhibitor turret. At least the Herald, that is. Really just depends on the way Barrage rotates. Looks like ENCLAVE won't even try, so they're just going back. They get to use it somewhere else. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, the fact that they get that tower, yeah, they can now look to take down that 3rd outer tower in the bot lane, and then they'll have an advantage. You can see they've already got a 1.3k lead, and that's just in the CS advantages that they've been able to gain in top and mid. If they can now use this Rift Herald bot side, get all 3 outers, start to push the waves deeper because they've got these CS advantages, they've got these lane advantages to take control of the jungle, it's then so much easier for them to make plays and have Aaron land an ultimate on somebody, have Bendy catch somebody out of position with a Chain of Corruption.
So far, ENCLAVE have not made a move that screams team fight, but there it is, the engage coming through.
Just a lot
onto Bartiono.
Essentially just using the ultimate to chunk him down, force him back, and get control of mid lane again, force the wave deeper, give them that time to be able to roam off of it and start to get control of the other waves.
So the reason I bring it up is just because ENCLAVE have lost most team fights that they take in the mid game. And it has been a real testament to Barrage's teamfighting capability in the Game 1 and Game 2. You remember that Ocean Drake that was very heavily won due to Governor. Then that second fight as well. Governor actually just been such a big component of Barrage's success. Right now, he's looking to try and find that as the Poppy. Barrage are looking to try and, I guess, test the waters. I think Barrage want a team fight, and ENCLAVE will just, if they can help it, not allow it.
Well, they can pretty much just control the game without really having to team fight. They've got the pressure advantage, and now they can just find picks like this.
Yeah, I mean, Zorky's just straight up dead. Nothing to say about that.
Because they have the control of the map. They don't need to force team fights. They can find picks. They can find people out of position and punish them, and that's exactly what happens. Zorky walks in where he has no vision and gets picked off.
ENCLAVE never, like... in this series, it's never been about the team fighting for them, it's been about the scaling. At this point, though, with Zorky dead and the vision control, which I'm sure we can just toggle in some short time, is just pretty intensely blue across the map. There is hardly any of it coming through for the side of Barrage, and now here it is, that Rift Herald being spawned into the top side.
So they trust Gnar to get the tower on his own volition in the bot side. They're just going to use this to get a huge chunk in the top side and continue rotating around, continue getting these tempo advantages, keep up the pace.
Keeping up the pace indeed. Rift Herald will go down.
This is a different ENCLAVE. We said they struggled to get vision control in the early to mid game. Look at how well it's lit up. It's just how efficiently they've been able to remove the vision of Barrage and put down their own, with the way they've been pushing the waves deep and rotating off of them effectively to put down wards and deny the enemy.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to think that, you know, Rift, who's been sitting on the sideline watching the games, will have some opinions of his own of where his team has failed in the first 2 games.
That outside perspective can be very valuable, especially when it's an in-game leader like Rift, and he has the respect within the team to make those changes happen.
Yeah, of course. You know, between him and Hansen, ENCLAVE really have all of the ability to change their style of game against Barrage, and so far it's looking really strong. Nice, slow, educated pushes coming through for them. Great vision control in both sides of the jungle, and something that still Barrage are struggling to clear.
And this isn't just a different enclave to what we saw earlier today. This is a different enclave to what we've been seeing in, among the different tournaments. This isn't a scrappy team fighting style that wants to take skirmishes, 2v2, 3v3, and try and get advantages that way. This is slow, methodical. They are playing the map to perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like Barrage will not be able to poke a hole in this style here. I mean, at the beginning of the broadcast, I opened with ENCLAVE being the most consistent team of the Forger champions.
Oh, this series, it's been consistently inconsistent.
But right now, you can see, back with Rift, to shot call them to success, it does feel like this is the ENCLAVE we expected coming into this series.
And this is one of the reasons why Rifty is touted as one of the best top laners in the league. Not only is he dominating his lane, not only is he taking over that shot calling role in the middle of a series, but he is just had such an impact on the rest of the team, and not only just how they were playing in these shot calls, how they played the early game, how Monkiz was so much more free to go to the bot side because of the pressure he exudes top lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty insane, the shift ENCLAVE have performed so far, but it is clearly not even close to being over yet. One wrong step from any member from ENCLAVE, that's all that's been necessary for Barrage to start turning the game in their favor. The question is if they can find it when they don't have control over their jungle.
It's they're slowly trying to push the waves back and get control back, but when Gnar is just pushing that much deeper, you can see when Gnar's on the map, the vision's deep. When Gnar's off the map, they're allowed to try and push vision back towards the river, because Poppy can start pushing up, they're under less pressure, they're actually able to make roams happen.
Monkiz just feels like he's had the jungle unlocked for him throughout this game.
Look at the resources they're giving him. They're giving Rift red buff here to try and trade even more efficiently with Governor to put him under even more pressure. And this isn't just let's just give him resources in terms of let's gank his lane repeatedly. It's let's let him have that side of the map to himself. We got
a green screen on the white the Cloud Drake that doesn't.
It doesn't live too long.
Doesn't live too long, but that was pretty fun to see.
Fully living up to the name of Clown Drake there.
Don't say sorry, Moya. That was great. More, please. That was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, at this moment, ENCLAVE, yeah, they don't really care about Drakes. Like, they're waiting until this Baron spawns so that they can start executing their endgame here.
The dragons haven't been the winning factor in this game throughout. It's not got to that point where the Elder Dragons spawned. It's not been 3 Infernal Dragons in the early game where everybody's contesting them. They're willing to give these over as long as they gain something elsewhere on the map, or as long as they gain some pressure. And they're able to get the vision control topside because of all the pressure that Barrage wanted to input bot.
Yeah, no, this is it's been a very clean game from Barrage here, ENCLAVE here.
Look at how hard they're zoned away from this top lane tower. It's just Ryze there, and none of the members can rotate around because there's all this vision between that mid lane tier 1 and top lane tier 2.
And Monkiz is here as well. Flash, body slam, dunk.
And again, that's why the vision pressure's there. So Ryze steps up, and the moment he does, you get punished for it.
Wow,
trade a mid lane tier 1 for an inhibitor tower.
Absolutely, Barrage, they're desperate for gold, global gold, and at this point it doesn't even look like they're going to get it with the wave clear coming through from the Varus. ENCLAVE have just been so dominant in their rotations. Does look like Barrage will start rotating to try and contest this inhibitor, at least get some vision back in their topside jungle, especially considering the Barons just spawned. They found Monkiz out here, but they can't quite lock him down due to the body slam over the wall. Rift is just free to continue locking down Governor, a 2-level experience lead for the side of Rift, who's, I mean, at this stage, pretty happy to dive Governor if he chunks him down any further.
But with that top lane, all the vision being lost off of the fact that they took that tower, they have to now reset. They have to get all that control again. They have to push up mid. They have to get control of the river, push that vision deep into the enemy jungle, and then start to look towards controlling Baron. Baron on Rifty right now is the end game. Yep. You can see how much he's taking away from them. Look at how he took the blue buff as well from Zorki. He's taking every single resource possible from the enemy team.
Yeah, he's stealing away from Zorki, stealing away from Zeb.
This
taking
is
everything.
Reminiscent of Khan's Jace in the style that he's performing here, where he's just pushing up the side lane, getting control. He's allowing his team full control on the other side of the map, and he's denying as many resources in both jungles, on where he's picking up all those resources along the lane, and he's maximizing his gold input while minimizing his opponents.
I mean, this is what good League of Legends looks like. It's slow, it's methodical, it's slightly not as entertaining from the perspective that so far it's been a bit of a clown fiesta this series with fights happening all across the board. But ENCLAVE as the top seed UK, the EU Masters, you know, already qualified, they need to be showing this kind of style, because you have to betcha the rest of the European regional leagues will be watching games like this when they start prepping their opponents, and when they see ENCLAVE losing to the 8th seed in such dramatic favor, that doesn't bode well for the United Kingdom's chances at EU Masters.
But a slow, boring, methodical game is exactly what ENCLAVE needed in this scenario. They needed to take control of the map. They needed to prove that they are the superior team, macro and micro-wise. They don't need to force fights over and over again. This is a coach's dream as a game.
Yeah.
Seeing a team not even have to fight to gain advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. It's perfect stuff. Barrage desperate to try and start a team fight, engage onto Haddo, who of course just pops his ultimate and says, yeah, what? Right now, Barrage may even find themselves in a position they don't want to be in. ENCLAVE, clearly we can see they're not collapsing, but Monkus' presence is fear enough that Barrage will not step forward for.
Yeah, Haddo appears on that pink ward though, and he backs off. He's aware that at least the support isn't there to back him up, the other frontliner. Rifty though, he's still doing a great job at trading in the top side and making sure, well, the bot side rather, making sure that this tower is getting chipped away bit by bit.
24 CS from that Flame Horizon as well. There's Zorki knocked back into the wall. Monkus with the ultimate. They've locked up Haddo, he's dead.
But
that's a huge shockwave. Now they have to escape. Comes the Divine Intervention. Oh, not Intervention, what am I talking about?
Cosmic Radiance.
Cosmic Radiance, yep. Got my champions mixed up.
Down. They're not letting them get away with this, and they trade 1-for-1 on the back of it, but they trade support for support, but they deny that mid lane tower yet again. Every single time Barrage stacks up 4 members mid, they want to take that tower. They want to get rid of that so they can start to at least have control of the river a little bit easier. But no, once again they're denied. That slowed down the game yet again. Barrage, they can't get anything on the map.
Yeah, they can't, and now the vision control starting to suffer because of it, as ENCLAVE will be able to move back on in and take control over that top side. You can see that they've given a lot of pressure to allow Rift to continue the split push. That's where most of the vision is kind of sitting for ENCLAVE. But because of the fact Barrage gives up that control, now they get to move in and start clearing out those slightly deeper wards that Barrage have, set the ones of their own down. This is exactly what ENCLAVE needed to start making moves that would insinuate a Baron sometime soon.
It's just Rifty though, bit by bit, chipping away at this tower, and that's slow, it's steady. They just want to control the map until they can make a play happen around Baron, but they need to try and speed it up a little bit. They need to try and draw members away and catch them out of position, because right now, they're just giving Barrage back their topside jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. ENCLAVE have laid down a lot of work though. Lots of vision being pushed down. Is going to be an engage onto Bart. He's in a lot of trouble. Bendy will just take him down. Pretty much as caught out can be. Jackamaka as well. He's between a rock, a hard place, a rift, a Monkus, and he's just dead. There's nothing they can do. It's Baron time, boys. Let's on head over to the Purple Worm.
And they've got those 2 members off the rift. The bot lane both gone. Two of the key members, one for the team fight and the damage dealer of Jackamaka, gone. And not only does this mean that they have the control over Baron, but it gives Rift, again, control over this bot side. He gets even more chip damage, and the Baron buff is enough to be able to get him on that inhibitor tower. They can have that 4-1 working. They can pressure every single lane at the same time.
Yeah, look at that. Governor immediately engaged on here by Rift. He does not want to give any chance of Governor to contest him here. Oh, a little hop to escape the hammer from Governor. It's going to be a still attempt coming through from Zorky. Holy moly! Where were those smites going? Felt like it was a chance for it, but Zorky's was the one that landed out there.
They wanted to instant burst Zorky, but they actually did a worrying amount of damage to the Baron in the meantime. The
Baron went down to about 200 HP, right?
Around 200 HP. That was dangerously close. It was just Monkas wanted to try and burst Zorky and get rid of him before the smite fight happened. He nearly caused the smite fight to happen.
Oh my goodness. Okay, but they secure the Baron. It doesn't matter.
This is just so clean, though. I've loved what Enclave have been able to bring this game. It's so much more controlled, and even though they've not been accelerating the game, they've just denied Barrage every way back in possible.
Yeah, no, it's a ridiculous game from Enclave here. The game that we anticipated from the #1 seed of the Forge of Champions, and with the Baron buff now, they will look to try and close this game out about as cleanly as they can.
They're not making it a game that they can't lose by getting an insurmountable lead. They're making it a game that Barrage can't win. They have no opportunities to get on the map and put vision down. They have no opportunities to make plays happen. They're now losing even the Dragons that they had kept up for so long, because Rift just has full control over that entire half of the map. It's just been him 1v1 on that entire half of the river.
Yeah, and I mean, Rift will head on over towards the bot side of the lane, and he's going to flame Horizon Governor in his first game of tonight, as if it was nothing. At the 26-minute mark here. Enclave, they are playing this safe. They've got the 1-3-1 setup, which we anticipated they would do consistently throughout this series. Monkas just being that roaming threat in the jungle. Looks like it might be an engage towards Bendy here. They're attempting it. Stun him up.
Chain.
Get onto him. No, wow, Bendy just takes the kill as if it was easy. And here comes the rest of the team. That's going to be
nice
the ult coming through. Zorky's dead before Monkas can even get involved here. Bart not where he wants to be. Governor trying to escape, but he can't. And yeah, and Rift's on the inhib. It's a 4 versus 3 as this is all happening. Rift's going to take the inhib turret. Rift's going to take the inhib for himself. His team very happy to 4v5. And now it's just pretty much the push into the base.
And Bendy turns it around. Jakamaka just dies to the damage before the Cosmic Radiance can even come down. Now it's 5v2.
And that's Seb dead. That is what we wanted from Enclave here. They are going to take down the Nexus turrets, and they're going to take down the Nexus at the 28-minute mark and show us why they are the first seed here in Europe. With Rift back on the team, his shot-calling presence felt. It just was what we expected.
All right. I mean, that was kind of what we expected coming into this. Swapping out Rift even for Prelude doesn't work. Never do that again. That's all Enclave have learned here.
I mean, that was one of the cleanest games I've seen in Forge of Champions in terms of just how well they were able to play the map, give up so few resources, so few plays, so little potential for anything to go wrong for them. And it was only really that trade in the early game that we talked about, where they traded the tower for the Rift Herald. That was the only downside in the entire game. Other than that, it was clean plays throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. Rift, just such a huge threat. I wouldn't be even surprised
Rift, yeah,
if he tops the damage charts just for the fact that he was constantly berating on Governor the entire game. And it just shows the pressure that he has. Early game Monkas felt free to roam mid, roam bot, make sure that Bendy didn't fall behind like he has been so far in the series. Aaron was just able to, you know, scale up on the Orianna and show us what a damage Orianna does as well, which is, you know, nice to see as well. But this is not really an unexpected result. Like, coming into this series, we both expected this, all three of us expected this to be a very clean 2-0 stomp from Enclave. They gave Prelude the stage time. They showed how important Rift's shot calling and insurance to the team is. Like, Prelude played fantastically in game 1 mechanically, but clearly they are missing something when Rift is gone.
Even their vision control around side lanes is just so much better.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see more of that from Enclave and less of the I don't even know what you'd call those first 2 games. Less of the poor play, basically.
Yeah, it's fair. Bad play from Enclave.
More of a slow methodology, that the typical coach's style is what I'm going to call that game, where you draft lanes where you have advantages, and then you just choke them out
Yeah.
the entire game. You just deny them every single avenue of success.
I mean, I will also say that, I mean, Orianna doesn't necessarily have an advantage into Ryze. In fact, Ryze is often used to split push against that kind of play, and it just never ended up.
The idea being that Nara is the winning lane, he is the split pusher in the side lane, he's the winning lane that you rely on, and the rest of them are the four-man unit.
Yeah, and it allows Varus to very comfortably get to his late stage without being touched. It allows your Orianna to just be a team fighting threat that the other team has to constantly respect. Not much more to say, I don't think. I mean,
Rip
do we have
Barrage. I mean, it's been a good series,
shot?
dude.
Yeah.
Bye. You're gone. Well, that is them knocked out.
Yeah.
Forge champions for them.
They fought a lot more valiantly than we expected, but it was against that weakened Enclave. And
we didn't expect Enclave to be so weakened either.
No,
in fairness, I think that was something I'd definitely be looking at going forward.
Yeah, we thought that Rift shot calling was we thought it was going to be missed, and we thought it was going to be a less clean game. But I expected aggression, sloppiness, over-aggression, people overcompensating for the fact that Rift's missing, not the lack of proactivity completely. It seemed like people were afraid to make plays.
Henson sold me the confidence that Enclave had that the game would not be different at all. That, you know,
he lied.
That whilst Rift's shot calling would be missed, they felt like it would be their same usual good performance. Quite clearly, Rift shot calling was missed dearly.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can't, I mean, you can't undervalue how good he's been this entire season. But just the difference in that
goes
game.
To show that it's not just his laning phases that he's helping control.
Yeah.
It's literally the whole game, which is insane. Don't really see that from any top lane.
No, not at all. Huge value coming through from Rift. Barrage, I think you're right. They have to be very happy. They took this to a game 3. They threatened in both games.
They forced the sub off.
I mean,
as well.
very potentially could have been a series loss.
Is that like getting in a fight with a guy with his hand behind his back and saying, "I'm going to make you use that second hand"?
I mean, when it comes to a game between 1st and 8th seed, sometimes that's what you do.
Like, it is very possible that if Barrage won game 1, Rift comes back on in game 2, and then we just see you know, the same two games that we just saw there.
It's hard to say, but I definitely think from Barrage's point of view, there are positives you can take away from this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thankfully, having a better series, even against a weakened Enclave, shows that you're a contender. At least you weren't like definitely bottom team. They haven't really faced off against the other teams. They potentially could have shown up against them.
Yep.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, no, I really respect Barrage's performance here tonight. And like you said, been great having them here. Unfortunately, though, this is the knockout stage of the Forge of Champions, and that will be Enclave progressing on towards the semi-finals. They booked their ticket to Barcelona, where we'll have live finals in a fortnight's time.
I mean, their tickets are booked for them, but yeah.
No, that game is the transaction. Yeah,
that's fun.
If we look towards the future, tomorrow we will have Wind and Rain versus Diabolus. Obviously, that's going to be a great matchup because we really don't know where that's going to go. But those are the two teams that would be playing Enclave in the semi-finals.
Yeah, I mean, I'd personally lean towards. I think Wind and Rain look more consistent, while Diabolus have made some changes. Still leaning their way, but I guess we'll see who they end up against.
We've got Bendy on the line for an interview here. A winner's interview, of course, coming through. Bendy, how are you doing, my man?
Good. How about you guys?
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's great to hear from you. I want to talk about a couple things because you are the first North American import to the UK, which
Player,
you know.
at least. Dark.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Dark,
Player.
yeah.
That's that. Yeah. How's that been for you? Kind of the transition.
It's pretty different, but I like it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I kind of like playing with EU players.
Do you miss home?
Yeah. The time zone is really different. Like I've lived away from home before, but the time zone is kind of frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
it's
I can
not
expect
that
that.
bad.
I'm assuming you were West Coast as well, right? So.
No, I was East Coast.
Oh, okay. It's a little bit better, but yeah, definitely.
A little bit.
That series, I think it kind of just showed everyone the value Rift brings to your team.
I wouldn't. Yeah, Rift's a really important part, but I want to say like it's not like Prelude was the fault of our loss in game 1 or game 2, and then
Agreed.
it wasn't that he was like or why game 1 was rough, but it's just we're just like a different team we play with Rifty. I think we're a lot more used to him as well. Some of it's practice and some of it's I guess more natural. But Rifty's a really great player too, so I'm not taking away from either Rifty or Prelude.
Yeah, no, we definitely agreed here on the desk that it wasn't necessarily Prelude who... in fact, I felt in Game 1 he was the reason you guys won. Honestly, it was able to get to a point where you were able to turn it around and get yourself online on the Varus to, get that pentakill.
Yeah,
I'm sure
him and Aaron...
Yeah, great.
Him and Aaron brought us to the late game there.
Yeah, so definitely not to subtract from Prelude whatsoever, but, the comfortable nature that is Rift for your team, as well as, some of the shot-calling elements Henson says he brings as well.
Yep.
What are your thoughts now moving on? You've locked in the EU Masters spot, so let's talk about that first. Surely that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah. Well, we were thinking about EU Masters. We've mostly been focused on this match and then upcoming Barcelona. I think we're not really thinking about EU Masters enough yet, or like we're not thinking about it because we have to think about Barcelona. Yeah.
I mean,
but it should be exciting. It should be exciting.
Lad, focus forward. Your next game, as opposed to looking.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like you were saying,
but it should be exciting.
Wind and Rain or Diabolus?
Yep, Wind or Rain or Diabolus would be, I suppose, your semi-final.
Yeah, either of those teams you'd be particularly preferring to face than the other?
I would like to play... If it was the old Diabolus, I'd prefer to play Wind and Rain for sure, because I think it would be more fun. But I think, because we haven't got a chance to play against the new Diabolus, it might be, fun to play them too, if that makes sense. I think I'd have more fun playing against Diabolus, but... I'm not sure if they're the better team. It's just that they have a new roster, and I want to see if that would make them play differently.
That's fair. I'm interested that your preferences to who you'd prefer to play is all based on who would be the most fun opponent rather than who was the easiest to take down.
No.
I mean, do you have an expectation of who will win then?
Between those two?
Yeah.
I would think it will be Wind and Rain.
I mean,
because they shouldn't have had that much practice on Diabolus' side, and I don't know their players to be fair, so maybe you guys know more, but I would just assume it'd be Wind and Rain.
I personally agree. I think it doesn't really fix a lot of what Diabolus' issues were. So
I don't think bringing an M test particularly is gonna change everything suddenly.
Yeah, I mean maybe we're wrong. Maybe they're about to pop off, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean focusing more on ENCLAVE here, and I guess your goals as a team coming into the season. Do you want to talk about how that's been, developed throughout, and now heading into the playoffs?
Our goals as a team?
Yeah, as a team.
I would say it depends on who you asked. I feel like some of us are pretty confident that we could be a top team, and then some of us are not so much thinking about that because I think we've expected more of our stuff as we've come along, but there's always been people who expected us to be able to do really well within our team, and I think we're all coming to realize that we can be really strong. As a team, I think now we're more united that we can be a really strong team versus then right at the start where maybe we're still testing the waters. But I would say, yeah, it's been kind of been I would say my initial impression was kind of more split than I thought because I always thought we could be really strong, but then again I didn't know the competition, so I guess I had the unfair advantage of being I didn't really matter what I was going into. I was just so confident. But now I'd say we're all kind of united on what we believe we should be able to play at.
Okay. So yeah, basically as a team, you more come together and aligned your goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the consistency of your performance definitely helps with that. Congratulations, Bendy. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And go celebrate the win with the boys and get ready to come over to Barcelona, play those semi-final matches up 2 weeks' time. Yeah.
Will do. All right. Have a nice night, guys.
You too. Thank you so much. Great. Wow. ENCLAVE booked their ticket to the semi-finals. It definitely looked shaky, but we did get to see exactly the result we were expecting with that Game 3. Pretty huge, the difference that Rift makes to the comfortability of the team. They were an entirely different roster.
Yeah, I mean...
And it wasn't just Rift, replacing Prelude makes top lane look good. Literally every element of the team suddenly looked so much better.
Yeah, Monkers, I think you have to focus on that.
Yeah.
And how much better Monkers looked with the ability to pressure bot lane, and he was constantly getting into the enemy jungler's face. We saw on that trade where he gets and steals red buff and he's continuing to pressure out on Raptors. It took Barrage's jungler completely out of the game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was playing around the lane priority seemed a bit easier for him. Knowing where the lane priority was seemed a bit easier, so maybe that does come down to communication as well. Overall, we're back to the regular Enclave after a very interesting series. I think Enclave should be returning to form in the semi-finals with Rift, I assume, as a mainstay.
Yeah, you would assume so.
Yeah.
Normality has been resolved, resumed, but in a moment we will see if the norm gets shaken a little bit more. We've got XL versus Hyperion coming up, so stick around.